Hello and welcome. Thanks for joining our webinar regarding our verification and validation services in terms of Corona health certificates. I'm Karim. I'm one of the two CEOs of UBIRCH, and I have the pleasure to show you what we have been developing the last couple of months and which led to the development that we are now the official provider of the German DCCs for the German Ministry of Health. A quick introduction to UBIRCH, as some of you might not know us. We are a cybersecurity company based in Cologne. We are working in the field of blockchain-based cybersecurity since 2014 and now have offices in Israel as well as the United Arab Emirates. We are more than 40 people taking care of digital transformation in the context of cybersecurity. And we are very proud that we've been chosen by the German government to provide the German digital Corona certificate, the DCC, totally in line with the requirements of the European Commission and ready to be part of the global WHO schema. We are also quite proud to have won a few awards, which are mainly taking care of cybersecurity and IoT environments, but also in terms of startups and high growth companies. And we are very proud that a lot of industry leaders have chosen us to be part of their overall offering. So we are integrated in the solutions of, for example, IBM for the German government, but also Microsoft, Oracle, and people like Prosegur and Palo Alto, who are taking care of the cybersecurity or security industry in general. So that's about UBIRCH, a very quick overview. And the reason why we are talking today is, as we all know, we are living in a pandemic since almost 1.5 years now, but it's not just a health pandemic, it's also a fraud pandemic. So PwC described this term in conjunction with the health pandemic based on their findings that people who are suffering due to regulations may cross their ethical and moral borders within such a crisis in terms which they normally wouldn't do. So if, for example, you are only allowed to work or meet your friends and relatives if you have a negative test, you're more likely to get that kind of fraudulent test, a fake test, in order to do this than in normal times. So this is something which has been discovered as a real threat to our overall society and lives. And you can just make a very quick example by asking Google for searches regarding fake COVID tests. And it's a steep rise, and with the upcoming vaccinations, they are on the rise as well. And we all know the press about travel agencies selling COVID tests in conjunction with a journey, tests bought on eBay or on the darknet. So this is something which is part of our daily lives already. And this is obviously a real risk because somebody who has bought such a test in terms of being able to fly again and is positive, by the way, he could endanger everybody on the plane. So this is something which is really a threat to all of us. And in the European Union, Europol has warned its member states that this is something where the states as national authorities need to take care of and prepare themselves. This warning has been issued at the beginning of that year. And it has been taken seriously. What is the problem? So if you look at a normal test certificate, for example, you see two certificates on the left and the right side. Both are from a lab. Both are stating that the person mentioned here is negative. But how do you identify which one is a fake one? Are both fake? It's just one fake. Is it associated to the right person? This is not possible because they don't have characteristics which can be checked easily by looking at them. So it's not easy to verify these kind of documents, and even more important in terms of large quantities and volumes, it's not possible to use this in an automated way by machines. So this is something which made us think. So UBIRCH as a company has its mission to create trust between third parties which don't know each other, but need to rely that information passed from one party to the other is authentic and true. So beginning of the pandemic, we sat together and we identified that this is something where our mission is complementing current problems. Because if we can make sure that this document, which you see here, is authentic, it can be proven and verified by anybody out there who has a valid interest in order to verify this document. That would be a contribution which is really worth trying. And that is why we developed, together with our partner Centogene, already mid of last year, a solution which is adding a security characteristic to this kind of documents, enabling people to verify the authenticity of these documents very easy. In fact, it is adding a QR code to the document, which then enables potential verifying entities to just scan that QR code with a camera or a special app, and being informed that this is an authentic, not fake document, because it has been issued in the environment you have supposed it would have been, and that the name on the document is associated to the person holding it. It's very easy because you can use this QR code in terms of a wallet pass. You can print it on a piece of paper and you can scan it with a camera or with a special app. For example, you see on the right-hand side an app provided by our beloved partner Lufthansa Industry Solutions, who integrated this verification in apps themselves. The process is very simple. So the citizen wants to travel, he goes to a laboratory, for example, a Centogene laboratory at the Hamburg airport or Frankfurt airport. He takes a test, the sample is sent to the lab analyzes the sample, and the result is handed over to the citizen, the traveler. The only thing we add is, in the instance this result has been generated, we anchor that result into our blockchain infrastructure, making it verifiable on a global scale. So once the citizen travels, he goes, for example, to the gate, shows his document. This document can be scanned, will be verified against the blockchain, our infrastructure. And the personnel at the gate can be sure that this is a document which has been issued by Centogene at a certain time, and the name which has been anchored in the blockchain is the same as on the document. So for example, if somebody would change that name on the PDF document only and shows this document, it will be very visible that this is not the original bearer of the document, because the original anchoring has a different name in our infrastructure. And this has been in place and used by a lot of travelers already since mid of last year. And with the upcoming vaccinations, we added that part to the picture. So vaccinations are even more important. The test lasts 2 or 3 days, depending on local regulations. A vaccination proof is worth a year. So it's even more important to make sure that these documents are authentic and cannot be falsified. Very simple approach, similar to what I've shown just now. We add a machine-readable part to the document in form of a QR code, which can be used on a pass. In fact, some local parts of Germany have issued cards, vaccination cards, where this QR code has been printed on the card and on a PDF as well, naturally. The process is even simpler because you just get this vaccination document when you have got your second shot of the vaccine, or first shot if it's a Johnson, directly handed over by the people who did the vaccination, and you can carry it around with you. And whenever you need to show to somebody and to prove that you've been vaccinated on a global scale, you just need to scan that QR code, and the verifier is informed about the authenticity of this document. This has been in place in Germany since beginning of the year. And as you all know, in Europe, the regulation, mainly based on the recommendation of Europol, came out in March, end of March, in order to provide the citizens of the European Union, once again, the ability to move free around the member states. And it is consisting of a few documents. One part on the left-hand side is the regulatory framework, so the legal part of the overall recommendation. And the right-hand part and the middle part is taking care of the technical aspects in order to make it possible that certificates which have been issued in one member state will be recognized and verifiable in the other member state. And what you see here on this slide, the red marked part is it's aiming at free movement within the European Union. So it is enabling citizens to travel around the area which the regulation is taking care of. It's aiming at a service for citizens. It's not aiming as a service for the industry. And it is supporting authorities in order to be able to check if citizens can travel cross borders or not. And that's a very important aspect, which I will come to later. The main elements of the digital corona certificate, as it's called now, it used to be the digital green certificate, now it's a DCC, not DGC, is that it's taking care of 3 different states. It is taking care of the fact that you've been vaccinated and so are secure somehow, that you've been tested in terms of an antigen or PCR test, and that you have recovered from an infection which you had before. And all of these 3 certificates are equivalent in terms of their meaning and the kind of information they provide in order to be able to cross a border. These certificates need to be issued to a citizen on paper or digitally, just as he wants. Even both variants in parallel are supported. So there's no way that you can force somebody to be part of a digital environment. You need to be able to hand over that certificate in paper as well if he doesn't like to. And there will be, or there is already, in fact, a gateway supporting the exchange of necessary information in order to be able to verify cross-country that certificates which have been issued in one country or member state can be verified in another one. So somebody traveling from Germany to Greece, the Greece authorities are able to check this DCC is authentic, or if somebody is traveling from Italy to Portugal, also this is possible. So the Portuguese authorities will be able to verify the Italian DCC. And I can tell you, I'm traveling a lot at the moment. This is really happening and it's working. The main reason for this 3 certificates and the paper and digital-based issuance is non-discrimination in the background. So you're not forced to get a vaccination. You can prove that you are safe by providing a certificate which tells that you've been tested negative, or that you recovered from an infection before and as such are safe to travel. All of these 3 are interchangeable. They have the same value when it comes to traveling between member states. And the other thing also connected to non-discrimination is obviously digital and paper. So you do not need to be part of the digital community. You can use standard paper-based certificates, which are as helpful, as valid, and as easy to be verified as a digital counterpart. All of this is taken care of the European Union, but the WHO is looking into a similar solution, as we all know. So there will be a recommendation coming out soon, which is using same concepts. So what we've been building here in Europe will be kind of upward compatible to the WHO regulation, which will come out. This is mainly taking care of vaccination certificates. So it's a kind of add-on to the yellow pass we all love and know. As far as we currently know, it's not dedicated to recovery and test certificates, but we will see the same infrastructure is obviously usable for also this kind of certificates, as we've been proven here in Europe as well. So the European member states will be connected to this more global kind of exchange of necessary information to verify certificates, and I guess other regions will follow soon. If you look at Europe, you see this nice chart on the map, in fact, on the right side, with green countries. All the member states are connected and are issuing DCCs at the moment. And they are also sharing the information necessary to verify their local DCCs in another member state. All of this is up and running now. If you consider the time between the regulation coming out and the 1st of July, which was the deadline in order to be part of the infrastructure, even though there is a time for people who still need to do a bit, which is until the end of the month, but nevertheless, within this 3 months, the European Union member states were able to build and connect such a complicated infrastructure. That is something really we can be proud of, I guess. And we, as a German provider, together with our partner IBM, are extremely proud of being able to have created such a highly secure, but also highly scalable infrastructure. If you look at the elements, so together with our partner IBM, we build 2 parts. The one is the certification part. So there are interfaces in order to enter the necessary information for each type of certificate, vaccination, recovery, as well as tests. There is a document itself bearing the necessary information. It's a standardized document across Europe, so it looks everywhere like the same. It's in the national language as well as English, but it has the same structure, the same colors, the same information, so it's easy to verify whether it's coming from Germany or it's coming from the Netherlands. It looks the same, so everybody knows if it gets something like that, the first step is, yes, it will be kind of official one. Next step would be to scan the QR code. There are 2 apps available. One is the COV-Pass app here in Germany, which is for the citizen to hold the digital representation of this certificate. And the other on the right side is the COV-Pass Check app, which enables authorities to check whether this QR code is valid and the certificate associated to it is an authentic one. So this piece of paper which you see here is in fact the one mean which is taking care of, first of all, making it almost impossible. It is impossible to fake it, because you need the signature of an authorized entity in a member state, and all the systems are extremely secure. So we've been tested and audited by the BSI, which is the German cybersecurity authority, very thoroughly, I can tell you. They looked into every detail of our company and the infrastructure as well. So it's impossible to get hold of that kind of information which you would need in order to fake it. And it's machine readable, which is also important, at least with the COV-Pass Check app, if you've seen. The apps which are necessary in order to do this are provided by the member states as a service to the citizens and the authorities, but they are apps. So they are not available for the private sector, and I'm coming to that later on in terms of the regulation, at least. The certificates itself, as mentioned, vaccination, test, and recovery have all the same structure, looks the same in terms of what kind of elements they provide, but they have obviously specific data parts in it, which are referencing to the status you have, vaccinated, tested, or recovered. In Germany, there's one special aspect that the test certificates are available through the local test and trace app, track and trace app, the Corona Warn app. So test centers, which are providing the so-called Bürgertest in Germany, are connected to this app. You get your test result in the app. And if you want a DCC, you can push a button on that app in order to generate the necessary information to make that a European-wide Corona test certificate. If you look at the volumes, so within the last 3 weeks, we were able to issue more than 60 million certificates for the German citizens. This is not the amount of people have been vaccinated. It's the amount of people who received certificates in terms of recovery, tests, or vaccinations. And in fact, there are people who received 2 vaccination certificates, one for the first shot, one for the second shot. So we guess it will be about 30 million people in Germany who have received such a certificate. And if you look at some other numbers, so we have about 18,000 pharmacies connected, 20,000 vaccination centers, and we are using the German health network infrastructure called TI, telematic infrastructure, to connect about 50,000 doctors to this kind of infrastructure. And all of this has been built within the last 3 months, obviously based on the infrastructure we already built, as mentioned before, since mid of last year, and where we added the vaccination part beginning of this year. So now 30 million people in Germany, some 100 probably in Europe have these kind of certificates, but now what can we do with it? And that is an important factor, and that's the main reason why we're talking today, is we need to provide means, opportunities for the private sector to use this information in order to restart what we all need. It's traveling and having entertainment opportunities. And what we do is we provide services, trustworthy services, in order to be able to verify the authenticity of such a certificate, as well as the validity at a certain time in a certain member state. Why is this important? So if we look at travel, due to the pandemic, this has been the worst hit industry on a global scale. If you look at these numbers, you see what happened. It's almost non-existent anymore. And as we all know, on the one hand, it's a very important infrastructure and industry in terms of GDPR, but it's also very important for us emotionally to be able to travel and to entertain ourselves. And this has been almost cut off due to the pandemic. We need to restart that rather sooner than later. And in order to do this, we need to take care. So one aspect is, even though a lot of people have received vaccines, and we seem to have what we call here in Germany herd immunity, there are still things happening which will make us to check if somebody has been vaccinated or if somebody has been tested or recovered for a long time from now. One aspect is the Delta variant. As you all know, it's upcoming and it's rising everywhere. And the latest information we got is that, I think it was in Israel, but I found out that the major vaccines are not as effective against that kind of variant as they should be. So this is something we need to take care of, and it's not over, definitely not. And the other factor is, if we need to take care of, and this for a long time, but on the other hand, want to restart our kind of normal life, we need to get to the efficiency of processes and the comfort of processes we had before the pandemic. So one example is the travel industry, especially the airports. So there are studies which found out that 90% of airport staff is necessary to take care of 30% of passengers traveling through these airports due to increased effort in checking and preparing. This is obviously not possible in the future. If we anyhow want to get at numbers in terms of travelers and people who enjoy themselves on vacations, but also business, which were on the pre-pandemic level, this is not capable. The reason for that is prior to the pandemic, a lot of people, almost 50%, used pre-check-ins through the web or an app. And about 20% came to the airport and used kiosks for safe check-in. And only almost 30% came to the check-in counter. And in order to be able to achieve an efficiency which enables us to be as much traveling, as much entertaining ourselves as before Corona, we need to regain these effective processes. And this is only necessary only possible if we include the digital Corona certificate into the processes of the entertainment and travel industry. And this has been identified by a lot of people already quite soon. So there are a lot of initiatives on a global scale taking care of including the necessary information into what they call travel passes in order to enable travelers to once again be on the road. But all of these are in a very fragmented environment. And a lot of these things never took off and got stuck in a kind of pilot phase or POC phase. And one good outcome of that was origination of what the Good Health Pass Collaborative is doing. So identifying ways that all these different approaches can work together by providing an infrastructure which is interoperable and requirements in order to enable these people to work together. And one important part, obviously, is the flow of trustworthy information into these passes and environments. And we as UBIRCH see ourselves as one potential supplier, one potential contributor with the infrastructure we've been building here in Germany, and which is available across Europe. And as mentioned in the beginning, we are also active in the GCC countries and helping the governments over there in order to do something which is comparable to what has been successfully established here in Europe. So we could be one potential contributor to providing the necessary information to these environments in order to enable travelers to be effectively, efficiently, and comfortable traveling again. And this is because we can provide a trusted gateway to the regulatory environment. So as mentioned before, we've been commissioned to provide the infrastructure for Germany to be compliant to the EU regulations. And we did that for the RKI and the Ministry of Health. We are issuing these kind of certificates. And what we also can do as a service for the private sector is to provide the necessary infrastructure in order to be able to verify the issued certificates in the trustworthy environment provided by the government. And what we do here is we provide an API service, which is usable and callable in a very simple way. You just throw the contents of the QR code to this API endpoint, and you get the result back. It's an authentic or it's not authentic. And the next step is to validate the contents of this QR code, which means you can ask the question, is this DCC valid in Italy tomorrow? And get the answer back, yes, it is, or it's not. And this is based on the rules engine, which also is supported by the European Commission. So there is this gateway of exchanging the necessary information to verify between the member states. And this gateway will have an added solution, an added service, which is exchanging the local regulations by member state. So once this is up and running, which is in development country, it's also be possible to validate, not just verify the DCCs. And in a very easy way, by just using this API endpoints, which we provide to the private sector. And what would that enable? I've got a use case here, which is aiming at hospitality, but can be mapped to entertainment as well as travel, airlines, cruise ships, railways, whatever, you name it, because the main pattern is the same. So the status quo before the DCC had these drawbacks. So it was not easy to verify the authenticity. It has not been effective in terms of processes, and it has been cumbersome for the consumer, for the traveler, queuing in long queues in order to be able to show his documents. All these three different aspects need to be taken care of in a solution. And the main point enabling such a solution is the overall availability of digital certificates, which we do have now in Europe and which will be upcoming on a global scale. Before this digital certificates, it has been like this. So somebody took a test or got a vaccination. He got the result or the document stating that he's vaccinated, which is the blue line. On the red line, he has made a booking, for example, for a hotel stay, and got the confirmation mail. And later on, in phase 2, he went to the check-in counter of the hotel and he needed to show his vaccination or test results in combination to his booking number or booking confirmation. And the pure people at the check-in counter needed to compare, and for utmost complexity, needed to authenticate this document by themselves. And as we've been learned before, this is almost impossible without added security features. So the security features have been added by, for example, the DCC. So the same process, somebody is booking a stay in a hotel, gets this information, a confirmation mail. But in addition to just a piece of paper, he got a digital element of that paper, the DCC, which is kind of the security characteristic, as mentioned before, which then can be easily verified through automated means. So once he gets to the check-in counter, he shows this QR code on the DCC, and the verification app provided by the member state is telling you, yes, it's an authentic one. So there is no necessity and no liability for the people at the check-in counter to identify whether it's fake or not. It's provided by the member state itself. But still, there's a lot of work at the check-in counter. So the next level would be to enable pre-check-in again. So what does that mean? The first part, the booking, is the same, as well as the testing or getting vaccinated. But then there is a pre-check-in phase, meaning that the consumer, the customer of the hotel, the airline, the event, has an opportunity to pre-check in through a website, uploading his DCC. The website will check the authenticity of this and validity as soon as the rules engine is available. And an API call marks this customer as safe. Safe to travel, safe to fly, safe to enter the venue. Which means once he gets to the venue, for example, at the check-in, it's already clear that he can pass. There's no need to check any documents. It is already pre-checked through the service of the website. And even easier would it be if it is an app, a consumer app you as a brand are offering, like an airline app or a hotel app, where the association of the person, the ID of the person is already part of the app and the customer database you have. And he just needs to add this document to his characteristics, to his status in the app. And the app is verifying the DCC and adds a flag, yes, safe to enter, safe to travel, based on the verification, the validation. He or she just goes to the hotel, to the check-in desk, shows his boarding pass, shows his booking confirmation, and associated to his record in the consumer database, the customer database. The people at the front desk know, yes, he can pass, he can check in, he can enter the venue in order to attend a festival or a concert again. So with this kind of service, we are able to recreate the efficiency and the comfort of the pre-corona version of travel and entertainment. And that's, in fact, what I wanted to describe and what I wanted to invite you to take a further look how this could be integrated into your processes. Now we can help to restart your business by providing a European-wide verification and validation of DCCs. So whatever kind of Italian, Portuguese, or German, French, or Greek DCC you would throw at our verification endpoint, you will get an answer back, which you can use in your systems and infrastructures and be safe and secure that it is valid and authentic. Thank you very much.